views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm your host, Naomi Yané, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, what's happening in politics. President Trump and Vladimir Putin meet for one-on-one talks at the Helsinki summit. We'll tell you more about that later in the show. We'll also talk to doctors from Montefiore Medical Center to find out how pathologists and clinicians are working together to diagnose, treat, and prevent hepatitis. We're also talking to an organization that's helping South Bronx students land spots at four-year colleges. And we'll find out how one Bronx neighborhood is celebrating their community's diversity. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Naomi Yané, in for Darren Jaime. Today's Wednesday, July 18th, 2018, and you're watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on MNN. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us. Find us on Twitter at Bronxnet TV and Facebook at Open Bronxnet Television. A lot of news happened this past week. We'll take a look at our Bronx update. Excuse me. Fresh Direct had a ribbon cutting in Port Morris, Mott Haven on Tuesday for its new Bronx headquarters. The new building will function as a distribution center. Fresh Direct hopes the new facility will cut down on order delivery times and give Bronxites access to fresh food. Parkchester Green Market transforms a transit hub into a lively community center connecting residents of all ages and backgrounds. Members of this diverse community appreciate the variety of fresh local produce that can now be found right in their neighborhood. Located at Westchester Avenue and White Plains Road near the 6 train, they're open every Friday until November 30th. The market hours are from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, you can go to grownyc.org. New York City is home to some of the most renowned cultural institutions in the world. And starting today, the New York Public Library is making it even easier for New Yorkers to enjoy these remarkable destinations with Culture Pass, a service that allows library card holders to visit cultural institutions throughout the city for free. NYC library card holders can borrow passes for 2 or 4 people at cultural institutions throughout the city. For more information, go to www.nypl.org/culturepass. That's all for the Bronx update. We're taking a quick break right now, and we'll be back after this.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, Girls can be in a classroom, and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with dachshund breeding.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And welcome back. President Trump was in Helsinki, Finland this week for the Finland summit, and what happened there caused some people to call his actions treason. To talk more about this, we have with us our political expert, Lee Vines. Sir, welcome.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
We've got lots going on. So President Trump was in Finland for the summit, but before he got there, he was in Brussels first.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And let's take it back to the start of the trip, because he started off the trip going to Brussels, and we'll work our way up to what happened in Helsinki, because it all kind of matches up. In Brussels, when he went over there, he met with the NATO alliance. He gave them pretty much quoted the Riot Act to them, letting them know, look, if you guys want us to stay a part of this process, you're going to have to kick in some more dough, do it on a regular basis. And he pretty much let the EU and the NATO members know that NATO was getting a lot more out of this deal than the United States was. That caused a lot of consternation right here in the States as well. So he moves on to the UK from there. When he gets to the UK, he reads the Riot Act to Theresa May, the Prime Minister, who was already in a lot of hot water because of the Brexit issue that she was going through right now. The President let her know that you wouldn't be having these issues if you had did what I told you to do, which is to sue the EU. Now, we move on to, well, he was also at the NATO summit. He also gave Angela Merkel a lot of grief over her immigration policies. You know, he has a really big problem with immigration, so he handed her the hat on that one. So when he finally gets to Helsinki, and he's standing next to Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir Putin, when asked, who did you want to win the election, he was very honest. May have been the only honest answer the man said during that press conference, is that I wanted Trump to win. The reason why he wanted Trump to win is because of everything that I stated up until now. He wanted, in order for Russia to become great again and actually become the Soviet power that they were in the past, they had to do two things to the United States. They had to get the United States out of the way. The best way to do that is to isolate the United States and separate the EU. Now, if he installs somebody in the White House, in the Oval Office, who will accomplish those tasks for him, that's one less thing he has to do to reach his goal. Putting Donald Trump in office, and since Donald Trump has been there, that's pretty much what he's been doing. He's pretty much wrecked every relationship with the United States, every agreement, every partnership. He even talked about getting out of the WTO. So as far as trade is concerned, he's been against China. He's been against Mexico. He's been against Canada. And all Vladimir Putin has to do is sit back and just let Donald Trump do his dirty work. Now, a few weeks ago on this show with Darren Jaime and J.C. Polanco, one of the local attorneys here, I put forth the idea that, it's a very, very strong possibility that Donald Trump has been compromised. And I kind of took some heat for that, but after Monday's performance in Helsinki, a lot of people are starting to think that, maybe Vladimir Putin does have something on Donald Trump, and he's able to control or influence U.S. foreign policy as well as domestic policy as a result of what the Russian intelligence was able to accomplish, which is getting him in office. Now, let's explore something here really, really quickly. A lot of the discussion up until now has been about whether or not, we know from all of our intelligence agencies that Russia did influence the election, but everybody's been trying to make a point that he or the Russian intelligence did not change any votes. I agree with that. But where they were successful at is that they changed people's minds, because when they broke in and stole the emails and be able to distribute that out to the public, and the broader Democratic Party was able to see that Bernie Sanders was being iced out of the process, they didn't change votes, they changed minds. And there was a lot of progressives, myself included, in the interest of full disclosure, was one of the ones who said that, you know what, this is a shoddy process. The Democrats are doing something to keep Bernie Sanders, the progressive wing of the party, at bay. And when they saw that, a lot of people, a lot of progressives decided not to vote at all. Now, we may never know how many there were, but we know it was enough because the vote totals were so close. We do know that it's a very, very strong possibility that enough of those minds would change that change the outcome of the election. Therefore, Donald Trump was elected, and that's one of the reasons why he's having a hard time going against Vladimir Putin, because if he accepts the fact that there was interference in the U.S. elections, and he has also entertained the possibility that he's an illegitimate president, and that is something that he simply cannot take.
So what do you think this means now for his loyal followers after what happened in Helsinki?
You know, it's difficult to say, because he's had so many outrageous situations up until this point, and he's been able to survive them. He's still, I haven't seen any latest polls since Monday, but I do know that he is very, very popular amongst the Republican Party, and that's one of the reasons why GOP members refuse to go against him publicly. Now, there have been a few people that have come out and said that he may have crossed the line here, but it's difficult to say whether or not that this is the one issue that will hold through November, and people can use this as a reason to, you know, rally around Democrats, or they can use it as a reason to, well, stick with him.
Right.
But right now, the Republican Party or Democrats are afraid of him. That's why we are where we are.
Well, we'll keep our eye on that one. We'll take a quick break. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back after this.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count, because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
Welcome back. Up next, we have with us New York State Assemblywoman from District 72, Carmen De La Rosa, talking to us about some of her initiatives in her district. Welcome, Assemblywoman.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the things you've got going on in your district, and you'll tell us about how they're doing, how they're working, why you felt it was important to have these and kind of implement these in your area. First, financial literacy series for high school students.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So that was actually a partnership with Catholic Charities and State Farm. Catholic Charities received a grant from State Farms in order to teach our high school students how to deal with money. A lot of the times our children are going into colleges and being offered credit cards the first day they step onto a college campus.
Right.
I know I was, and I know the first thing I did was go shopping. And that is not what we want our children to do. We want them to be smart with their money. Because as we know, student loan debt is really high. And to add credit card debt and bad credit on top of student loan debt is a disaster that will follow them through the rest of their lives. So we partnered with Catholic Charities to bring 100 high school students to have a full day workshop that has follow-up workshops within the schedule to teach them how to deal with money, how to use their money in a smart way, how to save, and how to make sure that their credit is on point for the rest of their lives.
That's so important, as you and you were saying that, you know, on day one, you walk into the college campus. I remember I was offered, and I won't say from who, but I was offered one. It had like $300 on it. I maxed it out like in the weekend.
Exactly.
And my mom found out about it, and she made me cut it up.
Exactly.
And I think that was the last time I got a credit card until I was, you know, older and working. But yeah, that's so very true, and it's so important to have. You've also got the Power Breakfast and Seminar Series for small businesses. Tell me a little bit about that.
So that is a partnership with the New York Women's Chamber of Commerce and the Department of Small Business Services for the City of New York. My district is a district where there's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. And we want to make sure that our small businesses have adequate funding, have adequate resources in order to succeed. So this is a series of seminars that is happening right in my office where small business owners come in and they learn about financial literacy, they learn about making a new business plan, re-upping their business plan if they already have a business that's not going too well. They learn about, for example, in the hospitality industry, how to train their hospitality staff to give quality service to our community. And the reason that this is important is because in communities like mine, the working class that has started small businesses, we want to make sure that they're supported and that they're able to stay and that they thrive. So in order to do that, we've partnered with the City of New York to make sure that they have the resources to carry out their work. And you know, they're one of the highest employers. In my district, the nightlife employs a lot of families. So we want to make sure that those businesses stay open.
Do you find that they're staying in the area once they get the information, or do they maybe get the information and go elsewhere, or are they staying?
They're staying. Most of them are staying. You know, right now with commercial rents being so high, there's really no regulation of commercial rents. And so in my district, a district that is now in transition because of rezoning and other speculation that is happening, it is important for the businesses to feel supported. And so these are businesses, some of them have existed for a long time, but now they're finding themselves in a place where they now have to change their business plan and change the way that they've been operating, some for decades, some brand new. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect them to services in order for them to thrive.
You mentioned rezoning. That's been a big topic in your area in the last couple of months. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you know, the rezoning falls under the jurisdiction of the city council. And I worked for the city councilman for 5 years before being elected to office. And I have a lot of respect for the city councilman. However, I am not on board with this rezoning. I believe that in order for Inwood, which is the community, the part of my district that is going to be rezoned, to be able to hold a rezoning, we have to invest in the infrastructure of Inwood. It's a community that has existed for a really long time. Our infrastructure is bad. We have a Con Edison plant in my district. There was a blackout in the 90s that was sweeping and devastated a lot of small businesses. So we want to make sure the parking situation is horrible. We want to make sure that if we're bringing new residents into our community, that the capacity of the district to be able to hold that is in place. And there needs to be investment in that. I don't think this plan goes far enough as far as infrastructure investment, as well as affordability. You know, I've lived in Inwood my entire life, except for when I went to college. And I understand that for people like my mom, who was a mom who was working, you know, 2 shifts in order to make ends meet, affordable housing is the only way we can stay in our districts. And when these rezonings propose some affordable housing, but the majority of luxury apartments, that guarantee of affordability is not high enough in order for us to be able to support this plan at this time.
Right. So you mentioned parking and the amount of businesses in the area. So we'll take a quick look at Car Free Day.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So that initiative actually is a very good initiative that was started when I worked with the councilman. So the councilman is, Councilman Adonis Rodriguez is the chair of the Transportation Committee for the City Council. And he started this initiative when I was his chief of staff because he felt that we needed to make sure that our communities knew about the impact that cars have on Mother Earth. You know, Upper Manhattan, the district that I represent, has one of the highest asthma rates. That's the same for the Bronx. Our districts are polluted not only because of the cars that come in and out. You know, we have, for example, in my district, the Cross Bronx Expressway passes right under residential buildings on 179th Street. And so we know the asthma rates and the obesity rates, the healthy indexes, you know, health indexes that affect communities of color, poor communities. And so Car Free Day was designed to bring the community together in a way where people would say we are voluntarily giving up our cars for one day. We won't drive. We'll make sure that the community takes mass transit, that they ride their bikes, and that they're outdoors. So we closed several streets in Washington Heights, and we had programming for children. We had DOT come out and do a bike ride demonstration, how to ride your bike. They gave out helmets. We had cultural performances, and it was a day really of educating the community on the effects of that we're doing to Mother Earth. Climate change is real, and how to come together to find solutions locally.
There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
Assemblywoman Carmen De La Rosa. Thanks for watching. We'll be back after this.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
And welcome back. Next on our show, we have with us Assistant Medical Director Dr. Yitz Goldstein and Director Shayla Reynoso at Montefiore Medical Center to tell us about how pathologists and clinicians are working together to diagnose, treat, and prevent hepatitis. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
So tell me first about World Hepatitis Day.
So just so we make sure that all of viewers are on the same page, hepatitis is a disease of the liver. The word literally means a liver inflammation, and it has a number of causes. It could be caused by excessive alcohol consumption, it could be caused by a number of different drugs, and it can be caused by viruses. Viruses in particular are a major concern because they can lead to a chronic infection, which can cause damage to the liver long term, which can lead to liver scarring, what we call cirrhosis, and can ultimately also lead to cancer and death. In an attempt to raise awareness about the infectious nature of the viral hepatitis, World Hepatitis Day was created to really educate the population about hepatitis.
Yeah, and so World Hepatitis Day is an opportunity for us to raise awareness of what both hepatitis B and hepatitis C is. And it's really a global concern because there's more than 300 million affected with both of these diseases. And what's even more shocking is that the majority of individuals don't know that they have hepatitis B and or C. It's really a silent epidemic, and so it's an opportunity for us to discuss and how to strengthen our efforts in making sure that we're preventing both hepatitis B and C that we're screening, and then also that we're providing treatment. And so fortunately for these diseases, hepatitis C, there is a treatment and a cure. And then for hepatitis B, there is a vaccine and treatment to limit disease progression.
So are there symptoms, I know you said it's kind of a silent killer, but are there any symptoms that folks should be looking for?
Sure. So there are a number of symptoms associated with hepatitis infections. They include nausea, vomiting. Sometimes there's a yellowing of the skin, which we call jaundice. There can be changes in bowel habits or urine habits. But as Shayla mentioned, often people don't realize that this is associated with a viral hepatitis. And what's important also is that people realize that there are various groups of individuals that are at higher risk. So individuals that use it or have used intravenous drugs, individuals that received any form of blood product before the early 90s, and really anyone that was born between the years of 1945 and 1965. About 3/4, 75% of cases of hepatitis C come from that group of individuals. And so there is a big drive to get all individuals born between those years to be tested for hepatitis C.
Did you want to add something? No? Okay. So you're saying that for hepatitis C, there is now a cure for it. I shared with you before we came on that my grandmother had hepatitis C, and I always thought it was something, you know, she wasn't a drinker or anything like that. You always think that some of, you know, that these diseases are associated with some type of lifestyle. So tell me a little bit about that, the cure, and what we're doing now to deal with that.
Sure. So it's important to realize that exposure to any form of infected blood can lead to a hepatitis infection. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily a lifestyle that we associate with receiving those infections. It could be something as simple as sharing a shaving razor that could have some blood on it. Tattoo parlors are a major source of infections that we like to keep track of to prevent the spread of these infections. And so it's important that people realize that it's not just those types of behaviors that we typically associate with infections, but that a broader range of really anyone that received a blood product before the 90s, the blood supply at that time wasn't routinely being screened. And so there's a risk that they could have been infected with the virus. And so it's important that we test individuals so that we find these infections, limit the spread, we treat these individuals, and now that we have a cure, that we cure these individuals. And that's really why we're here today.
And just the difference between Hep B and C.
Sure. So they both cause liver damage. Hepatitis B, one of the major differences that patients should be aware of is that people that are at risk for hepatitis B, there's actually a vaccine for hepatitis B. So healthcare workers that may be exposed to blood products or blood in some way, individuals that do have high-risk behaviors that want to limit their risk of hepatitis B can be vaccinated to prevent the disease. Hepatitis C does not have a vaccine, which is one of the real reasons we want to make sure that individuals get tested to identify their status. They know that we can then go on to treat those patients and cure those patients.
And remind us, when is World Hepatitis Day?
It is on July 28th.
July 28th. Are there any upcoming events right now that Montefiore Hospital Medical Center will be hosting for World Hep Day?
So Montefiore Hospital recently hosted a research symposium in New York City from researchers around the world presenting their cutting-edge research regarding hepatitis B and C in an attempt to further the research environment to ensure that everyone has equitable access to care. One of the things that people don't realize in the Bronx possibly is that while we may not have more cases than some of the other boroughs, we have the highest rate of death associated with cirrhosis and liver cancer, greater than any other borough in New York City. And so Montefiore is continually trying to provide optimized testing strategies. In my laboratory, the virology laboratories, we take a single blood sample. We then provide all necessary testing for the physician to be able to begin treatment at the next visit. So we don't want to have a situation where patients come in for a screening test, have to come back for a confirmatory test, and then need additional testing to know what specific type of hepatitis the patient has in order for the physician to treat. So we take one sample, we go through an entire algorithm designed with our clinician partners to be able to ensure that from testing to the very next visit, we are providing optimal care and ready for therapy. And the next step after we have a positive test is our essential programs that Montefiore runs in linking those patients to care. So while we may not have the highest numbers, if you think about, well, why do we have the greatest burden of death associated with the disease? It's because somehow we're not linking these patients to therapy, to care, and that's where Shayla's work really is essential.
Yeah. How can patients get in touch if they wanted to get tested, if they wanted more information?
Yes, so we do have a phone number. It's 1-844-CURE-HCV, and so individuals can call that number and ask to get tested, or even if they are aware of their status, get linked to care.
All right, 1-844-CURE-HCV.
You got it.
We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more Open.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. Katie Aylwin, Senior Director of Education and Youth Development at WHEDco, joins us now with our students, Malik, Schoffner, and Jean-Paul Galan, to tell us about their mission to help South Bronx students land spots at four-year institutions. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So first, tell us the mission of WHEDco.
Sure. So WHEDco was founded 25 years ago on the radically simple principle that all families deserve access to healthy and vibrant communities. And so our mission is to create access for South Bronx families to all the things that we believe make up those communities. So affordable housing, healthy food, high quality education programs, cultural programming, and economic opportunities.
So what are some barriers you feel? This program is specifically for the South Bronx.
Yes.
What are some of the barriers, or what need do you see for the students in that area? Is there, are the numbers not high of students going to four-year schools?
So the South Bronx, unfortunately, has relatively lower performing high schools, lower performing schools. And so we work very hard in the WHEDco Education Youth Development Department to make sure that our students are getting into high performing high schools, so then they can use that as a springboard to head off to four-year colleges and universities. And so some of the barriers that we've seen for some of our students are, there is a very low percentage of Bronx residents that have a bachelor's degree. And so for a lot of our students, they will be the first person in their family attending college. So really, navigating that process in the first place is the super hard step for them. And so making sure that we can help them get on that road to success is one of our biggest missions every day.
And I remember my time when I was your age on my way off to college. How do you guys feel right now? Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it.
What are you looking forward to most?
Just being away from the Bronx, because I never really leave here. The only time I left was ages ago, so I'm looking forward to being outside among different people and more diverse people in another college.
Where are you going?
New Paltz University. So it's still in New York, but it's far different than what I'm used to here.
Absolutely. I went to school in Buffalo, and it's still, it's still very different. What I will tell you about SUNY schools is that you're going to find a lot of New Yorkers out there.
Yeah.
Get excited about that. Just all pretty much, looking for that same thing. So you're on your way to SUNY New Paltz.
Yes.
How about you?
I will be going to SUNY Alfred State, and it is a very different environment than the Bronx. It is a rural setting, and I can say that the only thing that's there is a Walmart, so I'll be fine. But regardless of that, there is a certain amount of diversity there that I like, and that is why I'm interested in it.
So both of you, how did this program help you with the college process, the application process, the selection process?
Well, WHEDco, I've been in WHEDco since second grade, so I've taken part in many activities from WHEDco, ranging from any activity they had, like t-shirt design, land percussion, chess mostly, since that has carried on with me throughout my life. And so it just made me become a more open and outdoor person than I would usually be.
For me, after the 8th grade, when I was actually done with WHEDco, I went back to do something called Team Program, which is where they actually help people that are in high school right now. So they would be constantly asking me, do you need help with your college essay? Do you need help doing this? Do you need help looking at colleges? Do you need help looking at scholarships? So I was always getting constant help from them along with my school itself. So I was never lacking any help.
So what are your goals and plans for the future? What's next?
So I am majoring in forensic science, so I'm looking to be probably a detective, kind of one of those.
Okay, awesome.
Kind of weird to say it, but I'm kind of winging it.
Okay.
There
is no shame in that.
I'm planning on being a mechanical engineer for now, but I'm not 100% sure of it, which is why I'm undecided right now.
And that's fine.
I don't really have a set plan yet.
That's fine. I mean, I started off as a music major, and then I was pre-med, and I'm a journalist now. So, take your time. I remember being at this stage in my life, getting ready to go off to college, and enjoy yourselves. Take the opportunity and really just find yourself and experience everything and have awesome experiences. Be present, half the battle is showing up, and you guys are already there. You're showing up. Yeah, that's awesome. How about you, Katie? What's next for WHEDco? Any upcoming things that people should know about, and how can folks get in touch with you?
Well, people can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WHEDco Speaks, and find us on our website, which is www.whedco.org. Coming up for WHEDco, we broke ground on a new housing development, and so we will be seeing Bronx Commons rise up in in 2019. So hopefully fall of 2019 will be completed. And as for our youth department, really just waiting to see all of our young people go off to college this year, and hopefully see another crop of teens in our teen program next year have 100% college acceptance rate and see them all go off to great success.
Awesome. Congratulations to you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right here, but we'll be right back with more Open.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, Invest in us. Watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
And we're back, and welcome back to you. We are with Melrose, Melrose Celebrates Community and Culture. And here to tell us more is Edwin Pabon, Communications and Media Director for Nos Quedamos. Welcome. We stay Nos Quedamos, Inc.
That is correct.
There
Thanks
we go.
for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about the organization and how it got its start and why.
Well, Nos Quedamos started in the summer of 1993. And it started as a result of the founder, Yolanda Garcia, who was a business owner in the region, and she started realizing that property prices were being inflated, that people in the community were being evicted, and she got together with a group of community residents, business owners, and other stakeholders to start having a debate about what that meant for the people who had been there long term. And they formed Nos Quedamos, which originally was like a sort of an organizing committee and then fully became the organization that it is today, years later. But what they did that was really impressive in the early days was that they actually got the city to come out from its towers of power downtown and have to come to the Bronx, particularly the South Bronx, and negotiate what was going to happen in the region. So it wasn't just urban planners downtown saying, this is what's going to happen. But for the first time, community residents empowered themselves to say, no, if you want to build in the Bronx, if you want to change what's going to happen here, it can't happen without the voice of the people. And specifically, you have to come to where it's going to happen so we can have an equal footing debate about that. And we're going to say what's going to happen. You're not going to dictate to us what's going to happen. And over the years, Nos Quedamos has built 22 buildings in the Melrose Commons region, which is very impressive when you think about that we just got into celebrating our 25th anniversary. So that's kind of quite an accomplishment.
So 25 years in, you've got an event coming up this Saturday. It's the 25th anniversary.
That's
I'm sure
correct.
it'll be big. Tell us about it.
Well, the event, We're Melrose, kicks off the 25th anniversary proper. It originally was scheduled for June 9th, but we got rained out. And so now it's happening this coming Saturday on the 21st. And it takes place from noon to 6 p.m. And the thematic of it is Común Unidad, which is a sort of hybrid of using community and common unity as sort of a moniker for us to sort of kick off the kind of mood we want to have. So it's about really people coming together. If you come together in a common unified fashion, that makes community. But we're also celebrating the diversity that's taking place in the Melrose region. Historically, it's been African American and Puerto Rican Latino. Used to be highly German in the last century. You know, it was a big enclave of the German community. But African American Latino in the last 40, 50 years. But now you're getting people from the Middle East coming in. You're getting people from West Africa, South and Central America, Mexico. And so it's a really mixed community, and you see it most often when you open your doors and you look outside at 3 o'clock and you see the parents going to pick up their kids in school. You see the diversity, you see the dress, you hear the dialogue and the languages. So we want to celebrate that instead of saying how some say that, you know, diversity is not good for the community or immigrants shouldn't be here. You know, in the Bronx, we actually embrace it because it makes our community richer, and it's a wonderful thing. You know, so you're going to see some of that this coming Saturday when we have people performing from those cultures. So we'll have people from doing bomba y plena from the Puerto Rican community. We'll have a Mexican dance group. We'll have a West African drum group that's going to perform. We'll have poets, an all-female poet group that's going to perform. And it's going to be a nice event because it's family friendly, you know, and it's really, it's geared for people to take a break from their daily work life and just kick back a little bit, enjoy. There's going to be music, there's going to be food, and there's going to be, you know, just the community out in force.
If people want to participate, do you have vendors? How can people get involved?
Well, if people want to get a table, and we do have vendors, they can call the office at 718-585-2323, and they could speak to Ana Melendez, and she can sort of send them the application so that they can get a spot. And every year we've done it, we get about 1,200 people coming throughout the day because it's, you know, it's in a nice place where it's, you know, people can sort of get to it, easily accessible. And the street is also a decommissioned street that belongs to Nos Quedamos, so we have easy access, and we're also in partnership with the tenants that are there. So the community that already lives there is already pre-built, but the people that also get the announcement come out and they just want to enjoy what the South Bronx has to offer.
That's awesome. Tell us maybe what is one of your proudest moments for the organization in its 25 years?
Well, I've only been with the organization 2.5 years, but when I had heard of the organization many years before I came there, and it was always on a good note and about all these things they were doing. You know, having heard early on that a Latina sort of was at the head of the organization and had done all these accomplishments, but now coming in and having worked with them on a personal basis, it's a small staff. And they get so much done, and they're so dedicated. You know, you see it every day where the staff works late sometimes, and they work, because it's not just Community Development Corporation, it's also a social service agency. And so when you see them, people come in distressed about housing or dealing with the city bureaucracy for certain entitlement programs, and they sit with there and guide them to the process, advocate for them, make the necessary calls, and people come in probably with a heavy load on their shoulders, and they leave kind of relieved to have somebody have their back. So when I see that day to day, it makes me proud to be part of the organization.
Awesome. And this is happening Saturday, the 21st, from noon to 6.
That's correct.
In the Melrose section there. Y'all come out.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
160th between Melrose and Elton, and everybody's invited.
There you have it. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here, but we'll be right back with more Open.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
For Crotona Park Jams gives a nod to hip-hop and DJs. And here to fill us in is Jorge Popmaster Fabel, Pabon, CEO and co-founder of Tools of War. Welcome, the Popmaster. Please, first, tell me the background of that name.
Of my name, okay. It's interesting, you know, back in the days, hip-hop practitioners, we sort of did a little bit of everything. We were dancers, you know, b-boys, b-girls, etc., so-called graffiti writers. And so that's really how Fabel came up. You know, it's one of my tagging names, right?
So Popmaster Fabel.
Right, so then the Popmaster part, and in fact, this is how I chose Fabel. For real, because someone else, I used to write Pacer, and someone else wrote Pace, and I wanted a different name, so I was in the High School of Art and Design. I went up to the classroom, opened the book, went like this, and it landed on Fabel. But then I switched the E and the L, so it's more like Fabel, really. And the Popmaster part came in when I started getting into popping.
You got moves.
Yeah. And so an MC friend of mine from the Infinity Rappers one day shouted me out on the mic in the Roxy. It was like, oh, we got the Popmaster.
The Roxy.
Yeah.
Is that still open?
No.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. But that was, you know, the hip hop mecca at one point.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Tools of War. So
So Tools of War, I've co-founded along with my ex-wife, Christy Z. And we started off, in fact, I started off selling like merchandise, little old school things that people couldn't get their hands on anymore, clothing, apparel, name buckles, etc. And then we started then when I met Christy, she created a newsletter called Tools of War. And then Lord Finesse was given the opportunity to have these jams in the park. And he was busy, so he threw it at us. And we started to this is our 15th anniversary of doing Tools of War, True School Park Jams. But we also use the name for other things like activism and what have you. Yeah.
So that brings us to the Crotona Park Jams. Tell us about that, when it's happening, how people can get there, what people can expect.
Sure. I also have to include Friends of Crotona Park. We do this in conjunction, particularly the Crotona Park Jam, because Christy and I, we start our season in Spanish Harlem with what we call Spanish Harlem Hop. So that's every Thursday in June, which we just missed. You know, we just had that on 109th Street and 3rd Avenue, which would probably be the case next year, hopefully. Then every Thursday in July, we shoot up into Crotona Park. It's in the amphitheater, which is very close to the Indian Lake. The easiest way to get there via trains is the 4 train the 2 or the 5 to 174th Street. And it's just walking distance from there. Tomorrow, we have cool DJ Red Alert spinning, Grand Wizard Theodore, who is the creator of The Scratch, and myself. That would be the lineup for tomorrow. The following week, we have Grandmaster Kaz, who is our forever host, who's from the legendary Cold Crush Brothers. We have Mixmaster Ice on the lineup, and we have Johnny Rosado, who was, you know, one of the Public Enemy's like DJ, along with, of course, Terminator X, you know. And we have a very special guest on the 26th, which will be the final jam for Crotona Park for this season. Then typically we jump.
So you're not going to tell us who the special guest is?
No, you have to go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you have to go. Trust me, you can't miss this one.
Okay.
And then hopefully we will be able to obtain St. Nicholas Park in August. And then it switches over to Tuesdays instead of Thursdays, 135th Street and St. Nicholas Park.
So why is it important to host this and in the Bronx?
Because it's the birth grounds of hip hop, you know? Yeah, and you know, hip hop, you know, I'm actually from Spanish Harlem, born and raised in El Barrio, and which I like to tell people, you know, I grew up in so far south in the Bronx that it's like Spanish Harlem, you know, because really we share the same culture and what have you. But, you know, the vibrancy of urban culture in the Bronx is just tremendous, you know. I mean, ever since I was a kid, of course. I had family in the Bronx. Most of my girlfriends back in the days were from the Bronx. So I spent a good amount of my time in the Bronx. And, you know, our jams actually attract an international audience. So there are B-boys and B-girls, dancers and people from Poland, from Russia, that plan their holidays, plan their vacations around our jams. And they'll show up, like, for instance, there was a crew of Polish B-boys who came like 15 deep a few years ago, and they're like, we came for you guys, because we know that this is the closest we're gonna get to the original recipe, the original essence of the hip-hop, of a hip-hop jam.
Do you feel that that's lost now?
Not really, because we resurrected it.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah.
I mean, in mainstream media, though.
Mainstream media, yes. Yeah, it's kind of, what happened was I do lectures. I'm a adjunct professor at NYU. I teach movement, popping, and locking in the theater department. And I also travel around doing lectures in various, you know, institutions and what have you, universities. And one of my lectures is called The Great Hip Hop Swindle. And in that lecture, I talk about the stripping of a culture. In short, what happened was the recording industry hijacked the word hip hop, the term hip hop, and made it synonymous with just rap. And they started to exclude the dancers, the DJ element. You know, they said, don't worry, we have this producer guy, the aerosol art, etc. And in the process, they kind of zapped the true spirit of hip hop and all of these components, which sort of is what made it. You know, when I was part of the first tours, when we started going across seas and what have you, and there was always the full package, the DJ, the MC, the dancer, and the visual artist on tour. Even Double Dutch girls came with us, and yeah. So, so this is what made it this global phenomenon. And in fact, the dancing, I think, helped in a major way because it's a universal language. You know, if someone's rhyming in English, they may not always understand if you're like in a foreign country, but the dancing, everyone understands. Yeah.
So the next event is coming up, Crotona.
Tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
The 19th.
The 19th. What time?
4 to 8:30-ish. We kind of push it a little later sometimes. At Crotona Park, right next to the Indian Lake at the amphitheater.
There you go. There you have it. Thank you so much. Popmaster Fabel. You're going to have to show me some of your moves later.
Right on.
Unfortunately, that is it for us today here at Open. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 o'clock this evening on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You got to show me that pop.
Pop Park Gym. We have been very successful in engaging our community and ensuring that we have a safe, peaceful event in Crotona Park.
We host this event annually, giving back to our community so that they could see the local artists, the historians that started hip-hop in our community.
What makes this so unique that it's a free park jam the way hip-hop started back in the 70s and 80s.
It's all about peace, love, unity, and having fun. We attract the B-boys, B-girls, the poppers, the lockers, the dancers.